Is your Microsoft 365 Copilot adoption stalling or stuck? One of the biggest mistakes that can undermine long-term adoption is over-indexing the importance of technical skills related to how to use the product's features versus the softer process and task management skills that are more critical to embedding AI-based success. In this video, I'm going to consider how you might rethink your approach to Microsoft 365 Copilot, personally or for your organisation, to overcome these friction points and to help you move toward being a frontier firm when it comes to AI, filling in those gaps that Microsoft's official adoption guidance might not cover. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant who specialises in AI adoption for small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're interested in keeping up with AI advancements, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and drop this video a like so you'll see more from me in the future. And if you're interested in working with me, check out the links down in the video description to get in contact. Traditional technology adoption practice needs to be turned on its head to be successful with AI, because tools like Microsoft 365 Copilot simply aren't like software and systems you've worked to embed in your organisation before. Research from Boston Consulting Group claims that around 70% of AI adoption challenges are actually non-technical. But this mistake of approaching AI adoption predominantly from a technical angle is one I see again and again when I engage with SMBs who have started rolling out Microsoft 365 Copilot and are now looking for help. Many of those I talk to are IT leaders who feel they've done everything right, yet their shiny new AI tool that is supposed to deliver so much benefit is failing to land. Their organisation has invested in licenses, they spend a lot of time training people on features, and they're following up on communicating product updates. But they've been at this for months, and people are starting to ask questions about when the payback will arrive. If that scenario resonates for where your business is at, then you are 100% not alone in this. It's not that what you've done is wrong or that Microsoft 365 Copilot is a bad product. It's just that you're applying the wrong change management principles to your AI rollout. The big problem we need to address is that your focus has been technical adoption. You've treated rolling out Microsoft 365 Copilot just as you would if you were rolling out a new CRM solution or a new piece of finance software. You show people what it looks like, tell them what to use it for, and show them which buttons to press. And now they know how to use it. Right? In most cases, this is where things go wrong. Copilot and other AI tools are just built different. For most software, the what is clear, so the how is a logical place to start when getting people on board with using it. But a product like Microsoft 365 Copilot is designed to flex to the fact that everyone approaches their job slightly differently. And it adapts to how different users might describe their needs based on natural language prompting, rather than a series of button presses or clicks. In this regard, the skills needed to get real value out of Copilot are much closer to what a user would need to manage having their own executive assistant, rather than learning to navigate a new app. So there is an obvious incongruence in focusing on technical training when the skills needed to succeed are really about personal organisation and how to approach management of others, albeit with those others being digital tools rather than human colleagues. I find it helpful to frame this skill development in connection to three broad categories of activity where you can use AI and think about what needs to happen to be successful in each, while ensuring safe and responsible use of the technology. Let's look at each of them. Do what you're already doing, just better. Step 1 of your successful AI adoption pattern focuses on you leveraging your AI tools to do what you're already doing, but at a higher level of quality. The email, where you use Copilot coaching to improve its understandability. The Teams meeting, where you're able to share a more thorough follow-up by using Copilot's intelligent recap. The project proposal, where you're able to include more relevant background by using Researcher to build a set of insights on your prospect or their industry. This is where you embed the how of using Copilot, those technical skills you've already been focusing on, in the actual what of work for each individual. It's about trying things out, looking critically at the outputs you get, and getting specific on establishing a pattern of where you intend to use AI to deliver benefit. It's critical that you start here because this is also where the foundations of responsible AI practice get established. You can quickly understand if the update Copilot proposed to your email is nonsense, or if the team's recap misunderstood something important, or if researcher conflated two similar prospects. You're already knee-deep in this work every day, and you are the expert on what makes it better or worse. This is one of the most vital foundations of why working with AI is more like working with a fallible human assistant than it is working with some all-knowing computer that is never wrong. This practice of verifying the work of others is key for effective AI adoption, and is very much a management skill rather than a technical one. Another incredibly important management skill is understanding where to deploy resources to achieve output rather than just polish. Some recent research has actually highlighted that AI adoption can reduce productivity. For example, some developers who self-assessed that AI tools were making them 20% more productive were found in reality to be taking nearly 20% longer to do that task than if they hadn't used AI at all. These tools, whether for coders or knowledge workers, offer the potential to iterate endlessly in polish, even when it delivers diminishing returns. If you're a sales manager and you add a new employee to your team, should their focus be on hunting down new business or bettering the relationship you have with an existing client? The right balance will depend on the exact circumstances of that business, but what will be universally true is that allocating that resource effectively to generate a positive return is a core management competency expected of the sales manager. Exactly the same is true for the human user of the AI system. All organisations should allow their users to spend enough time at this stage to develop a good muscle memory for integrating Copilot into aspects of their work and to explore how different types of use deliver different outputs. At that point of adoption, we are ready to move on to step 2. Do what you're already doing, just more of it or quicker. A classic way an executive assistant might help their leader to get more done during the day is to get them prepped for everything that's upcoming each morning. This might be a file on the desk, an email, something dropped into a OneNote notebook. This is exactly the type of structured and repeatable work you might decide to allocate to Copilot. But just as with a human assistant, the value will be in being able to describe what type of update helps you the most, rather than focusing on how it's delivered. You've probably already focused on getting your Copilot users up to speed on the technical approaches the product offers for these sorts of needs. Tools like scheduled prompts, Copilot notebooks, and even Copilot Studio Lite agents. But the key gap we need to fill to make the executive assistant analogy land well is to define what you are going to use these capabilities to actually do. Using AI as a lever to scale your productivity, either in terms of timelines or absolute output, cannot simply be about bolting it on to whatever task you happen to be doing, but must be about fully understanding your work processes and leveraging AI in places where it delivers the best outputs in a consistent and repeatable way. But this is also where you land on a new risk, one that is core to management practice too. You are suddenly relying on a third party to provide input that helps you move your work along without being directly responsible for creating it. Let's unpack this difference a little to make it clear. When we're simply using AI for polish, as in the last step, you are always in the middle of that work. Your verification of the input AI has offered is core to your ability to deliver the output you're creating. But here, that shifts. That daily briefing can only be an effective amplifier of your time if it includes information both that you don't know well and you rely on in doing your job. But this is not a new problem created by AI. Any leader who has attended a meeting after just digesting a briefing prepared by someone in their team has taken on exactly the same risk. But when it comes to AI adoption, this is the place where many users get stuck. But thinking about this as a management problem rather than a technical one again reveals the answer. You need to design the delegation well, so it's clear what you are looking for and what's being sought. You need to set the expectation that uncertainty is surfaced, and you need to build a verification approach that matches scrutiny to the real stakes of the issue at hand. And whether your technical implementation is a prompt library or a scheduled prompt or a Copilot notebook or an agent or anything else, fundamentally your approach to mitigating this potential risk will be exactly the same because it is well-established management practice that has been shown to work again and again. So your takeaway here is to decompose your processes into components that you can delegate to AI in a repeatable way. Really think about that delegating as a management problem, not a technical one, and build a verification process that is appropriate and proportionate to the real risk you're taking on. With these steps, every user can use AI to add new value in a safe and responsible way, not just leverage the technology to add polish that, while useful, doesn't tip the scales in terms of ROI. Once that is embedded, we can move on to step 3. Do new things you can only take on because of AI. In general, those in supervisory and management roles tend to oversee things that they have practical knowledge of and experience in. And this is where our journey with Copilot has started. But at the top of most management career ladders are roles where your job becomes leading functions you conceptually understand in terms of how they fit into the business, but have zero real experience in. Think of a sales manager who is suddenly promoted into a role where they have responsibility for marketing too. This is ultimately where many of us hope to get with AI adoption, a Copilot and teams of agents that help us not just run one function, but a whole business. This is really the journey Microsoft describes in its April 2025 Work Trend Index report, showing Phase 3 of the frontier firm as one that is human-led and agent-operated, with agents executing on the directions humans set. I don't think any organisation could currently claim to be fully into Phase 3 yet, but those that are on this path are having to define what adopting AI in this broad agentic pattern actually looks like. Here, from a technical perspective, you get into the territory of multi-agent systems, autonomous agents, and integrating AI processing steps into your existing workflows, potentially with additional automation wrappers, depending on the nature of the task. Some of this comes built into Microsoft 365 Copilot, such as the ability to use Researcher as a coordinating agent for additional agents as parts of its processes, and some needs to be built, in the case of Copilot Studio autonomous agents. But while the technology might give you the answer of how to do this stuff, your success is still entirely defined by your ability to decide what to do and the way you apply your responsible AI baselines to these processes. A common target process for agentic AI automation is customer service, and in defining what you want an agent to do, you are essentially defining a job. Your existing customer service processes are handled by human workers who operate within established quality and workflow guardrails, and you establish measurement systems that enable you to identify whether that service is delivering what you expect without having to manually review every case. The challenge is not building an AI solution that can interact with customers autonomously, but in doing so in a way that accurately transposes these standards from the human realm to the agentic one. And while this might be a technical project that IT leads, the input needed from other areas of your business to be successful will likely be very different from other technical implementation projects. Those stakeholders who are helping to define this agentic strategy will benefit from the foundations each individual user built in Step 1 and Step 2. So those organisations that try to jump to this level without first embedding practical AI understanding are likely doomed to fail. The good news is that those organisations that stick with AI adoption see real benefits, but the picture of how you get to that reality is significantly more nuanced than just add some licenses and do some training. We must shift how the organisation works and thinks to get the best from AI. This is the strategic roadmap I help businesses build through my Microsoft 365 Copilot adoption package and one-on-one coaching, technical framework plus the people skills to make it stick. If this is of interest, there's links to get more details down in the description. Here's a final thought worth considering. McKinsey research from 2025 found that those already in management positions, particularly those in the 35 to 44 age group, were well placed with AI. Not because they had the highest level of technical skills, but because they've already developed those management muscles alongside good enough technical skills to translate them to AI. In your rollout, these are the people you need in the room to be your champions and advocates, not those with higher perceived technical knowledge but a lower experience level to translate it into what needs to be done and how for your business. I'd be really interested to learn your adoption experiences, good and bad. Start that conversation down in the comments. I hope this was useful to you. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.